Hello everyone, we are from Group Resurgence. We are going to present Chapter 5, Auditing Database Management System, DBMS. Here are chapters overview. I will present about overviews of DBMS. Database Management System refers to the technology solution used to optimize and manage the storage and retrievals of data from database. DBMS offers a systematic approach to manage database via an interface for users as well as workloads accessing the database via apps. The management responsibilities for DBMS encompass information within the database, the processes applied to database, and the database logic structure. DBMS also facilitates additional administrative operations such as change management, disaster recoveries, compliance, and performance monitoring, among others. Here are key components of DBMS. The first one is software, a software system that can be considered as a management console or an interface to interact with and manage database. The OS and networking software is involved in creating, accessing, managing, and processing the database. And the second one is data that can access to database records and metadata as a resource to perform the necessary functionality. The data may include index file, administrative information, and data dictionaries used to represent data flow, ownership structure, and relationship to others, records, or objects. The third one is procedures. It can consider as instruction on using DBMS. The documented guidelines assist users in designing, modifying, managing, and processing database. And the fourth one is database language. It can access, modify, store, and retrieve data items from database, specify database schema, control user access, and perform others associated database management operation. The next one is query processor, an intermediary between users and the DBMS data engine in order to communicate query requests. The query processor also optimizes queries to ensure fast processing and accurate results. Database Manager perform DBMS functionality associated with the data within database. Database Manager allows a set of commands to perform different DBMS operations. The Database Manager may also be used to update the database with patch from vendors. Next one is Database Engine. Perform the core functions associated with data storage and retrieval. A database engine is also accessible via APIs that allow users or apps to create, read, write, and delete records in database. The last one is reporting. Extract useful information from DBMS file and display it in structured format based on defined specification. This information may be used for further analysis, decision making, or business intelligence. This is DBMS system schematic. Then benefits of DBMS. The first one is data security, enforce policies that enable compliance and security. It available for appropriate users according to organizational policies. The system is also responsible to maintain optimum performance of querying operations while ensuring the validity, security, and consistency of data items updated to a database. The second one is data sharing, fast and efficient collaboration between users. Third one is data access and auditing, control access to database, logging associated access activities allows organization to audit for security and compliance. The fourth one is data integration. Instead of operating islands of database resources, A single interface is used to manage database with logical and physical relationship. Abstraction and independence. Organization can change the physical schema of database system without necessitating changes to the logical schema that governs database relationship. As a result, organization can upgrade storage and scale the infrastructure without impacting database operations. Similarly, changes to the logical schema can be applied without altering the apps and services that access the database. And the last one is uniform management and administration. A single console interface to perform basic administrative tasks make the job easier for database admin and IT users.
Hi, good day everyone. My name is Jason with metric number 254896. Now I would like to proceed to 5.2 about IS standards and guidelines on auditing database management systems. So here's a link for you guys to refer, where is a document by ISACA talking about the IS auditing standards, guidelines, and procedures. So before we move on to the main topic, I would like to do a revision with you guys about relationship among standards, guidelines, and procedures. So what is standards? Okay, standards must be followed by IT auditors, and standards define mandatory requirements for IS auditing and reporting. They inform three categories of people. First one, IS auditors of the minimum level of acceptable performance required to meet the professional responsibilities set out in the ISACA Code of Professional Ethics for the IS auditors. Then the second one, management and other interested parties of the profession's expectations concerning the work of practitioners. Number 3, holders of the CISA designation of requirements. Failure to comply with these standards may result in an investigations into the CISA holders conduct by the ISACA Board of Directors or appropriate ISACA committee, and ultimately in disciplinary actions. Okay, guidelines. What is guidelines? Guidelines provide assistance on how to implement the standards. Guidelines provide guidance in applying IS auditing standards. The IS auditor should consider them in determining how to achieve implementation of the standards. Use professional judgment in their application and be prepared to justify any departure. The objective of the IS auditing guideline is to provide further information on how to comply with the IS auditing standards. Let's move on to procedures. Procedures provide examples for implementing the standards. Procedures provide examples of procedures, and IS auditor might follow in an audit engagement. The procedure documents provide information on how to meet the standards when performing IS auditing work, but do not set requirement. The objective of the IS auditing procedures is to provide further information on how to comply with the IS auditing standards. So now I would like to move on to the main topic about IS standards and guidelines for DBMS. So the standards and guidelines involved are standards S8 and standards S12, guideline G6 and guideline G35. So standard S8 and guideline G35 are related, which are about follow-up activities, and standard S12 and guideline G6 are related, which are about audit materiality. So I would like to introduce to you guys about G6 and S12 first, which is about audit materiality. So S12 audit materiality states that the IS auditor should consider audit materiality and its relationship to audit risk while determining the nature, timing, and the extent of audit procedures. And then Guideline G6. Guideline G6, which is about materiality concepts for auditing information systems. Under G6, there's a section 3, planning, and under section 3.1.1, the assessment of what is material is a matter of professional judgment, which means IS auditor can practice their professional judgment on assessing something, whether that thing is material or not. Okay, now we've moved on to the guideline G6, still under G6, but another section 3.1.5, where it states IS auditor should determine, number 1, establishment of roles and responsibilities. Number 2, determine a classification of information assets in terms of confidentiality, availability, and integrity. Number 3, determine access control on privileges management. Number 4, determine classification of information based on degree of criticality and risk exposures. Assessment should include verification of information stored, IS hardware, and so on, which is about IS architecture and software, IS network infrastructure, and many more. Now I would like to move on to G35 and S8, which are about the follow-up activities. Okay, guideline G35, follow-up activities. Under G35, there is a section 2. Which is 2.3.2, where it states a database can assist in the carrying out of follow-up activities. Where when we do the IS auditors do the follow-up activities, right, they have to refer to the database. And then the standard related is S8, follow-up activities also. So it states, after the reporting of findings and recommendations, the IS auditors should request and evaluate relevant information to conclude whether appropriate action has been taken by management in a timely manner.
Good day. Now we are going to talk about DBMS control and security. So what is database security? Database security refers to a range of tools, controls, and measures that designs to establish and preserve database confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So next we will look at the control of DBMS. So what is control? Control is a process that established by our management to provide reasonable assurance that DBMS or IS objective will be achieved. So for DBMS control, it has two kinds of control, which is access control and backup controls. For access control, its audit objective is to prevent unauthorized access, and by controlling the access right may help us to reduce the risk that will impact our database securities. So for this access control system, it included file permissions, which is the permissions for us to create, read, edit, or delete on a file server, and then the program permissions, which is our rights to execute a program on an application server, and then the last one is the data right, which is about the right to retrieve or edit data informations in a database. And for access control, it have two main components, which is authentications and authorizations. For authentications, it is a prerequisite for authorizations. It is a method that verifying the identity of a person which is accessing our database, and it often done by a means of shared secret, which is password, user ID communications, shared biographics, or biometric data. And then for authorizations, it will determine the rights of a user to access to our data. So to ensure this data security, we need to log all access and authorize details with our transaction identifiers. So we need to audit it regularly and maintain the audit trails. And then we have authorization managements that define the procedures to protect and guarantee our database securities and integrities. So the procedures are included view definitions and user access management. So what is user access management? User access management is designed to limit the access to the database and likely include at least these 5 procedures. And then for veils definitions, it is about the scope, the data scope that are accessible to the authorized users. So for more understanding, we can refer to this subschema restricting access. And then we are coming to backup controls. For backup controls, the audit objective is to ensure the integrity and safety of the data. And then we have two types of data backup, which is physical data backup and logical data backup. For physical data backup, it includes the backup on physical files such as data file, log file, control file, redo or undo log. They are the primary or the foundations of every recovery mechanisms in the database, because they provided the most fine details about the transactions and modifications that done to the database. And then for logical backup, it included the backup of logical data such as table, view, procedures, and their function tools. So by then, if we only done logical data backup, it is not sufficient, because this logical data backup, they only provide the structural informations. So for backup controls, we have three kinds of storage structures, which is volatile memories. Volatile memory is the primary memories, and then they can store in small amounts of data. By then, they are processing very fast. For example, like main memory. And then for non-volatile memory, they are secondary memory. They are huge in size and then take time to process. And for example is a flash memory, hard disk, or magnetic tape. For stable memory, although this is the third form of the storage structures, by then it is the same with the non-volatile memory. And it's just store a copies of non-volatile memory in another secure place. And then now we will look at how we back up our primary and secondary memory. First, we will come to primary memory first. So to back up with our primary memory to ensure that the data is not lost, so we can use database backup and checkpoint. So, and then we will come to secondary memory backup. We can use a remove backup method. Remove backup is about our database is periodically update with the current database, so that it will synchronize with data and other details. And we also can update this database manually, and what we call offline backup. So in this case, if there is a failure of current database, the system will automatically switch to the removed database and start functioning. And then the next one, we can copy the database to the memory device such as magnetic tape, and then keep it in a very secure place. And if any failure, we can take the tape and bring the database come out. And then the third method is log file and transaction log. It provides an audit trails for all processed transactions. Why? Because the log file are backed up with regular intervals, so this log file will have all the information about the transactions being made. So by seeing this log file, the database can be recovered. And then for the following is for the extra informations. The following slide I show about the practice of database securities, data trade, and its solutions. So that's all from me today. Thank you and have a nice day.
Good day everyone, my name is Ling Kai Yin with metric number 254659. So now I would like to proceed to the last part for our presentation today, which is audit procedures for database management system. As my colleague mentioned just now, there are two types of DBMS control, which is access control and backup control. So now I would like to explain how an auditor uses the audit procedure in testing the database access control. First, the auditor can verify the database administrations to see whether the database administration is the only one that able to create stable and design user views. Next, the auditor can take sample user and match with the job descriptions. If the user and the job descriptions is the same, which means the company are having a good access control. Next, the auditors can evaluate the cost and benefits of the biometric controls. Next, the auditor can verify the database query control to see whether any unauthorized user access through the system. If there is no any unauthorized user through the system, which means the company are having a good access control. Next, the auditor can verify the sensitive data. For example, the auditors can verify on the password to see whether the password are properly encrypted. And lastly, the auditor can see whether there is a segregation of duties among the database administrator, the security administrator, and the programmer. If there is no duplicate of job or work tasks between three of them, which means the company are having a good access control. Next, I would like to explain the audit procedures used by the auditor in testing the database backup control. First, the auditor can verify the backup to see whether the backup are performed routinely and frequently. Next, the auditor can verify the copy of database stored in the system. If the database are stored properly in the system, which means the company are having a good backup control. Next, the auditors can verify the automatic backup procedures to see whether the automatic backup procedures are in place and well functioning. Next, the auditor can verify the database log to see whether the database log are performed periodically. And lastly, the auditor can test on the backup policy. The backup policy should strike a balance between the inconvenience of frequent backup activities and the business disruption caused by the excessive reprocessing. So here is the audit procedures used by the auditor in testing for both of the control. That's all from me. If there is any questions, you may ask during the class hour on the Webex or the team meeting or WhatsApp or Facebook group. We will reply to your question as soon as possible. Thank you.